Okay. You're welcome. We will continue our study in the book of Romans from chapter 9, from verse 19 onwards. But before that, last week we have seen the from 14 to 18, where it says, therefore God will have compassion on whom he will have compassion. He will have mercy on whom he will have mercy, right? And whomever he wants to harden, he will harden, right? So that's what we have seen in the book of Romans 14 to 18. And so it does not mean that God has predestined some people, so there is no hope for those people, or that God will never show mercy upon us. No, what it means is that God is fair, right? But we don't understand the fairness of God because we don't know the people. And so we need to trust God in that whom he is showing mercy and he's doing the right thing. Whom he's hardening, he is doing it and he's doing the right thing, whether it seems right to you or not. Right? That is what we have to take away from this particular passage. Now, if you read from 19 to 24, the same thing is being expounded a little more. Remember that Paul, when he's writing to the Romans, this is not an interactive conversation, right? So he has to anticipate whether there will be a question to his argument or to his analysis, right? So now he's anticipating a question. So several times in Romans, he anticipates a question and then he answers that question also. So let's see what is it that he is anticipating right now. 19 to 24.
అట్లయితే అట్లయితే ఆయన చిత్తమును ఎదిరించిన వాడెవడు? ఆయన ఇకను నేరము మోపనేలా అని నీవు నాతో చెప్పుదువు. అవును గాని ఓ మనుష్యుడా, దేవునికి ఎదురు చెప్పుటకు నీవెవడవు? నన్నెందుకు ఇలాగు చేసితివని రూపింపబడినది రూపించిన వానితో చెప్పునా? ఒక ముద్దలో నుండి ఒక ఘటము ఘనతకును ఒకటి ఘనహీనతకును చేయుటకు మంటి మీద కుమ్మరివానికి అధికారం లేదా? అలాగు దేవుడు తన ఉగ్రతను అగపరచుటకును తన ప్రభావమును చూపుటకును ఇచ్చేయించిన వాడై నాశనమునకు సిద్ధపడి ఉగ్రతాపాత్రమైన ఘటములను ఆయన బహు దీర్ఘశాంతముతో సహించిననేమి? మరియు మహిమ పొందుటకు ఆయన ముందుగా సిద్ధపరిచిన కరుణాపాత్ర ఘటముల ఎడల, అనగా యూదులలో నుండి మాత్రము కాక అన్యజనములలో నుండి ఆయన పిలిచిన మన ఎడల తన మహిమైశ్వర్యమును కనపరచవలనని ఉన్ననేమి?
Thank you. It says here, you will say to me then, you may ask me the question, why does he still find fault? Right? Why is he anticipating this question? That they will ask him, why does he still find fault?
To judge.
He's saying you're the one who is hardening the heart. And why are you blaming that guy for disobeying or for his heart being hardened? And so you might be asking me, well, how come you're finding fault? You're the one who is enabling that condition and then you're blaming him for sin again, right? For who has resisted his will? I mean, if once you have decided something, can somebody go against that? Right? So that means you are molding a person in a certain way. He cannot go against you. And how can you find fault with him? But indeed, O man, who are you to reply against God? Will the thing formed say to him who formed it, why have you made me like this? So now his question, right? If you have this question about this this particular analogy of why you made me like this, or can I make a decision on how I should be rather than you making the decision in which way I should go, and then you blaming me for it, right? Because then I should make that choice and then you can blame me, right? But here another analogy is given. What is that? The thing formed to say to him who formed it, why have you made me like this, right? So in order for you to have that kind of a liberty, did you make yourself? You see, that is the point. A thing that is made by somebody cannot go and ask the maker or the creator of that thing, why did you make me this way? Right? Why? Because it is that way because that man made it that way. Otherwise, it would not even exist. Right? So that is one thing. So you don't even know. God is, there is so much difference between a thing that is made and the one that made that thing. Right? Completely different. The knowledge of one is completely different from the knowledge of another. Right? He's saying that is the contrast between us and God. The creator knows so much more than the created thing. Or does not the potter have power over the clay, and from the same lump to make one vessel for honor and another for dishonor? Another example that Jesus, the Bible gives is the relationship between the potter
The clay.
and the clay. Right? That is actually taken from the book of Jeremiah. Right? What does God tell Jeremiah to do?
Go to the potter.
Go to the potter's house and I'll show you something there. And what was the potter doing there? He was making something. And out of the clay, something was not working out properly. Then what did he do? Did he throw the clay? No, he took it and tried to make something else. Sometimes really there's such a big lesson in that one. Our life is like that. What is the reason that the potter did not make something proper out of the clay? Is it the potter's mistake? The skill of the potter? The potter has been making pots for maybe 20, 30, 40 years. He knows exactly how to make. Right? So something didn't come properly means that it's not the skill of the potter. It is something wrong with that clay. Either the clay has some impurities inside or it is very hard or something like that. So then what does he do? If it is hard, he adds a little more water, makes it a little softer so that it will mold itself. If there are stones or some impurities, he will feel it and then he will remove those things and then try again to make it. That is how our relationship with God is. God is the potter, we are the clay. Right? And how many times we have failed in our life, but still we are in the hand of the potter. Potter is not taking the clay and throwing off and saying, how many times should I try? Sometimes we harden our heart. He tries to soften our heart. Sometimes there is some impurity within us. He tries his best to get rid of that impurity out of us. And then he tries again. How many times has he tried with you? How many times has he tried with me? That's something that we know. But here he's saying that does the potter have power over does not the potter have power over the clay? Who decides what will be formed out of that clay?
Potter.
Not the clay, the potter decides.
Mm.
Right? And it is best that the potter decides. Right? The potter, even if the clay decides, it cannot do anything of its own, right? It's best that the potter decides. Right? And from the same lump to make one vessel for honor and another for dishonor. Right? Actually, it's very interesting, this analogy. The potter, if you see what all the potter makes, he will make a lot of earthen vessels. Some will end up maybe in an exhibition somewhere, because it looks nice. Some ways something nice, very fancy thing he may make. And some he will make, in back in the day when we were growing up. I think nowadays it is not there. But back in my grandmother's house, when we were small, they used to have, for water, drinking water, they used to have an earthen pot. Have you seen that anytime? It was like a big earthen pot. And then, because before the refrigerator, your refrigerators were there, but, they couldn't purchase those days. That was only it used to keep it cool, right? And then you have to go dip and then take your cup. It's not very expensive. It is nothing fancy about it. The same potter will make. Some will be very uh, expensive. He will make them. Some he will make for common use. I mean, who decides that?
God
Potter will decide that. He doesn't mean bad for one and good for another one. At that point, he decided to make something, he makes it. At another point, he decides to make both. In his mind, both have served different purposes. And that's why, even the clay, we cannot question God. For what purpose? Why is that person there? I am here. What is my purpose? No. The potter has in his mind what is the purpose for each and every. Some are in some other place, some might be doing something humble, but everything has a purpose. Right? And so when Paul is anticipating a question in their mind, is God arbitrarily choosing whom he will have mercy, whom he will have compassion, whom he will elevate, whom he will humble? Trust in the Creator, and that is the example of the potter in the clay. What if God, wanting to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with so much long suffering the vessels of wrath prepared for destruction? This is another very confusing thing. God, he's saying that, God has endured with long suffering the vessels of wrath. For example, Pharaoh, he endured God wanted to bring the people out of Israel.
Egypt.
I'm sorry, Israel out of Egypt, right? People of Israel out of Egypt, right? He did not have to put up with Pharaoh for how many times? He did not have to do the 10 plagues, right? He did not have to send Moses. He could have struck Pharaoh down. He could have done anything and then brought people out of Israel. But he patiently endured. God, wanting to show his wrath and to make his power known, he endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath. Right? These vessels of wrath, like the Pharaoh, for example. Vessels of wrath means the people on whom God showed his wrath in order to make his power known. He has endured with those people also. He had patience with those people up to a certain time. And when that time has come, he has unleashed his wrath on them so that his power can be shown. You see, God knows. And so trust in what God is doing. And therefore, if he is enduring with people for a time, that is not for us to judge. Like a lot of people in Israel also, I mean, the people of Israel, the Israelites, or even Moses must have doubted God. God, with that much power, why do I need to go all the way from here? I am living a nice, peaceful life here. You brought me out of Egypt. 40 years I'm here in this wilderness. I am no more a trained soldier. I'm now a shepherd. I'm very happy. My wife, my children, my sheep, all of that. You want to bring the children of Israel? Bring them. right? Raise up one guy from the children of Israel itself. Strike the Pharaoh down, everything will be set. God has a plan. He wanted to show his power through Moses, and he did it. And he patiently did it. He was patient till that time. And that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had prepared beforehand for glory. Right? The vessels of mercy. Again, he showed the mercy to the people of Israel. Right? So the vessels of wrath and the vessels of mercy. And what a powerful display of wrath and mercy that was. I'm just giving one example, but you can think of several other examples where God endured and then showed his wrath. Right? At the time, and then he showed his power and then he showed his mercy upon people where they would better appreciate the power of God and his mercy. We trust in God's timing. But here it says he has prepared beforehand for glory, even us whom he called. Don't get the impression that beforehand he has prepared means that when he is making people, he already decided that this guy, one day I will have wrath on him, and this person I will have mercy upon him. In which case that there is no opportunity for that guy to repent. Right? That is never the case. God has foreknowledge. Right? And then he said, whom I have called. I think we have seen that, right? Whom I have called, I have justified. Whom I have justified, I also sanctified. Right? So it all depends on the way we respond to his calling. God beforehand knows what we are going to do. That does not mean that we have only one way to go. That's it. And God did not even give us an opportunity to turn back because he wanted to use us as an example of his wrath. No. It does not mean that Pharaoh had no opportunity to repent. From the time Pharaoh was born, he was born for the sole purpose of God showing his wrath upon him. That's it. And so there was only one way for him to go. That is never the case with God. Everybody has a free choice. But we use our choice in a different way to the point where there is no more hope of return from our end. And then God shows his wrath and uses us as a vessel of wrath to show his power. Not only of the Jews, but also of the Gentiles, right? He has called not just the Jews, but he has also called the Gentiles. Everybody is being called, right? And to show mercy, because he uses in the context of mercy, right? So, and even this, the vessels of wrath, when God endured, another example is even the children of Israel itself are an example. How much he endured with them before he showed his wrath upon them. That before he brought any judgment upon them, any punishment upon them, how much he endured. They themselves are an example of this statement. And now he says, not just the Jews, but all are welcome. And this prophecy is there in the Old Testament, that all are welcome. Can someone read from 27 all the way to 29? 25 to 29.
ఆ ప్రకారము నా ప్రజలు కానివారికి నా ప్రజలనియు ప్రియురాలు కానిదానికి ప్రియురాలనియు పేరు పెట్టుదుము. మరియు జరుగునదేమనగా, మీరు నా ప్రజలు కారని ఏ చోటను వారితో చెప్పబడెనో ఆ చోటనే జీవము గల దేవుని కుమారులని వారికి పేరు పెట్టబడును అని హోషేయలో ఆయన చెప్పుచున్నాడు. మరియు ప్రభు తన మాట సమాప్తము చేసి క్లుప్తపరచి భూలోకమునందు దానిని నెరవేర్చును గనుక ఇశ్రాయేలు కుమారుల సంఖ్య సముద్రపు ఇసుకవలే ఉండినను శేషమే రక్షింపబడునని యెషయాయు ఇశ్రాయేలును గూర్చి బిగ్గరగా పలుకుచున్నాడు. మరియు యెషయా ముందు చెప్పిన ప్రకారము సైన్యములకు అధిపతియగు ప్రభువు మనకు సంతానము శేషింపకపోయిన ఎడల సొదొమ వలె నగుదుము, గొమొర్రాను పోలియుందుము.
Thank you.
20.
So, thank you. So, as he says in Hosea, so he quotes two prophets, Hosea and Isaiah. And what does he say? Hosea said, I will call them my people who are not my people. All through the Old Testament, my people means it was Israel, right? But I will also call others who are not my people. I will also call them. And it shall come to pass in the place where it said to them, you are not my people, there they shall be called the sons of the living God. In places where the Israelites rejected, and every place where they rejected the Gentiles, right? As that you do not deserve God's mercy. In such places only I will once again reinstate them, and then I will call them the sons of God, right? And we have seen that, in places like Jerusalem itself, much later on during the time of Paul, after his ministry, how many Gentiles came into Jerusalem, right? And they joined the church. And the church grew both in Jerusalem, in other parts of Israel where there were only Jews, and where the Gentiles were rejected completely, never welcome into any of their ceremonies or any of those. In all those places, the Gentiles also joined the church. Gentiles also entered into the synagogues, right? So that's what, in Acts, actually, you will see that in the book of Acts. When Paul used to go, all the Jews and Gentiles gathered in the synagogues. They shall be called the sons of the living. Isaiah also cries out concerning Israel. What does he cry out? Though the number of children of Israel may be as the sand of the sea, the remnant will be saved. See, this is also a very powerful testimony. Though many of them are there, they shall be as the sand of the sea. Only the remnant will be saved. The remnant is, this word remnant will be there throughout the New Testament. Remnant means remaining. The ones who are remaining faithful to God. Only those people will be saved. Whether among the Jews or the Gentiles, only the remnant will be saved. It all depends upon your belief in Jesus Christ. Not all will get saved. For he will finish the work and cut it short in righteousness, because the Lord will make a short work upon the earth. This also has been a matter of huge debate. What is this work that he will finish? What he will cut short? And what will it be based upon? And what will the work on earth be very short? When he's coming to execute his work. When we say he will cut it short, cutting it short always symbolizes precise, decisive, quick judgment, right? So he's saying that he will finish the work, cut it short in righteousness. He will make a decisive, quick, fast, conclusive decision based upon his righteousness upon this earth. It will never have any questions. It will never be ambiguous to anybody. It will be crystal clear and decisive when he makes that swift, decisive judgment. Right? Cut it short. His work also will be short work upon the earth. Right? When he comes, he will execute the judgment and go. And as Isaiah said before, unless the Lord of Sabbath has left us a seed, we would have become like Sodom and we would have become like Gomorrah. Paul is actually telling us that the seed which actually grows and gives life, right? Unless he left us a seed. And that seed is what? The seed is the knowledge of God. And that seed came through Jesus Christ. He has left us a seed. He has left us something that he has started on this earth. What Jesus Christ has sown, the truth, the righteousness, unless he left us that, unless Jesus Christ came as a seed to be sown on this earth so that it will give everlasting life, and we can all see it. We can all be saved by the growing of that seed. And it was literally like a seed when Jesus Christ left. After that, it just grew, the gospel work. Unless that is there, we would have all become like what? We would have all become like Sodom. We would have become like Gomorrah. In two ways, we would have become. Our character also would have become. Our actions would have become like the people who were living in Sodom and Gomorrah. And our end also would have become like Sodom and Gomorrah also. Right? So again, he goes on to say, what is the present condition of Israel? Let's see. 30 and to 33.
అట్లయితే మనమేమంటున్నాం? నీతిని వెంటాడని అన్యజనులు నీతిని అనగా విశ్వాసమూలమైన నీతిని పొందిరి. అయితే ఇశ్రాయేలు నీతి కారణమైన నియమమును వెంటాడినను ఆ నియమమును అందుకొనలేదు. వారెందుకు అందుకొనలేదు? వారు విశ్వాసమూలముగా కాక క్రియల మూలముగానైనట్లు దానిని వెంటాడిరి. ఇదిగో, నేను అడ్డురాతిని అడ్డుబండను సియోనులో స్థాపించుచున్నాను. ఆయన యందు విశ్వాసముంచువాడు సిగ్గుపరచబడడు అని వ్రాయబడిన ప్రకారము వారు అడ్డురాయి తగిలి తొట్రుపడిరి.
You see here, again, he is anticipating a question. What shall we say then? He is telling, this is a very strange thing what I am telling you. Right? How did the Gentiles get to know this and Jews don't have it? That is confusing. The Jews were always with the gospel. They knew more than the Gentiles. Right? So then he gives the explanation. What shall we say then? That Gentiles who did not pursue righteousness have attained to righteousness, even the righteousness of faith. Gentiles have attained righteousness who never knew what is righteousness. So how did they get it? They got righteousness by faith. Faith in Jesus Christ. And so Christ's righteousness was imputed to them. But Israel, pursuing the law of righteousness, has not attained to the law of righteousness. Why? Because they did not seek it by faith. They were seeking righteousness not by faith. They were seeking righteousness by the works of the law. You see, that was what Jesus Christ was pointing out from the beginning. They were depending upon their own work and counting that towards righteousness. I am giving this much. I am teaching this much. I am the seed of Abraham. I am keeping the Sabbath. I am doing this. I am doing that. By their works, they were trying to attain salvation and attaining righteousness, not by faith. And when Jesus came to teach them that was wrong, and that righteousness by faith is the way that they really get righteousness. Why? Because for you to get righteousness by the law, are you capable of fulfilling the righteous requirement of the law? If everybody was able to do that, then why do we need grace? You see? But they did not get that. Neither did they ever think that grace was needed for them. We are the upholders of the law. We are the generation of Moses, of Abraham, of David. Right? That was their pride. And when Jesus came to tell that, they were offended by Jesus, the words of Jesus. That's why, what Jesus was called here, because they would not seek, but as it was, they were seeking by the works of the law, for they stumbled at the stumbling stone. Jesus Christ, actually it's very interesting. Jesus Christ was called what? A stone. For people who depended on Jesus Christ, he was the cornerstone. Cornerstone is very important for every building. Cornerstone has to be there. Cornerstone holds both the sides together. And so in those days, cornerstone was the pivotal stone, very, very important. But for people who were offended by Jesus Christ, he became a stumbling stone. He became a blocker for them at every point of time. So much so that they wanted to remove this stumbling stone from their midst. Because at every point they were stumbling wherever they encountered him. That is why it is written, behold, I lay in Zion a stumbling stone and a rock of what? A rock of offense. Right? In the book of Psalms. Behold, I lay in Zion. Zion is Jerusalem, right? A stumbling stone and rock of offense, and whoever believes on him will not be put to shame. Right? And this will be elevated. And whoever believed in him, they will be elevated. Their spiritual experience, even among men, they will be elevated. They will not be put to shame. But others will feel it as a rock of offense. Right? They were embarrassed, they were offended, they were getting angry at what Jesus was telling them. At every step, they were being proven that what they were doing was wrong. They were being told in their face, that they are completely misled and misguided. And so Jesus became a stumbling stone for them because they were trying to achieve their own righteousness by the works and not by faith. So that's the reality that Paul also wanted to present about the Jewish nation. Right? So that concludes chapter 9. What we're going to see in chapter 10 is, he now presents a nice message. He says, I'm just want to giving a preview. He says that I am not, my heart, I'm praying earnestly, like he was saying previously, I'm praying earnestly that Israel also should be saved. That is my heart's desire, that everybody, because he himself was a Jew, my people also, I'm praying that is my heart's desire. Right? And so he goes on to say that the Gentiles should not become too proud now. Right? That all they are saved and Israel will be lost. Right? He also says among Israel also there will be people who repent and they will also be saved. In fact, he gives a very good example. You Gentiles who came much later on, when you have given your heart and repented, God has accepted you. Israel, who are God's people, if they repent, how much more will he want to accept them? He will accept them also. The commonality is, do you repent? Do you seek forgiveness and realize the path to salvation is through Jesus Christ? Whoever does that, whether you're a Jew or a Gentile, it doesn't matter. And so we are going to see all of that.
You want to begin another reading? Recording or should-
Thank you.